Hello, hello, thank you for stopping by to take a look. This is Resident Evil The Darkside Chronicles for the Nintendo Wii, released by Capcom in 2009. It was also released for the PS3, and I'm assuming on that system it used the motion controllers. I know they weren't very popular for that system, but I believe that's the scheme it uses. This is an on-rail shooter in the Resident Evil universe. In this one you're going to play various characters from that series, like Leon Kennedy, Claire Redfield, or Jack Krauser, who's a new guy apparently. Basically, you're running around killing zombies and monsters. You can play this one solo or co-op, and I'm playing this one using a Wiimote plugged into a gun mechanism. It works pretty decent this way. The Resident Evil franchise at this stage is pretty large. I mean, they've had dozens of games released over the years, and they've actually had a few rail shooters as well. This one, graphically, seems mostly to feel like Resident Evil 4, and it's actually supposed to be a prequel to that game. There are various scenarios that you end up playing. There are two, basically, new scenarios, and then there are two that are kind of like a retelling of Resident Evil 2 and Code Veronica. You can play these both solo or co-op, and progress is saved as you progress. It also remembers your level checkpoints. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Capcom. Good job. You start the game with the pistol, and the pistol always has unlimited ammunition, but it doesn't do too much damage. As you navigate around, you're going to find other weapons, of course. Shotgun, machine gun, things that are quite useful when you're trying to kill monsters in a game like this. Having a pistol with unlimited ammunition is great, but the other weapons certainly don't have unlimited ammo. You're going to switch between the various weapons depending on how you set them up, but you use the thumb pad on the Wiimote. Things do happen kind of fast in this game, so you kind of have to get comfortable with how you set up your loadout. And you also have to pay attention to how many shots your weapons have. That's useful. On some of the earlier levels, I find saving the shotgun and the machine gun ammo for as long as possible is pretty valuable. The chapters have end bosses, and you get to the first boss, and it's nice to have a machine gun with plenty of ammo to defeat it. Also, if you press and hold the A button, your reticle is going to change on screen. When you do that, if you swipe the Wiimote, you're going to slash with a knife. That's actually pretty useful, because there are certain things that you run into where you really can't hit them well with a gun, so being able to cut things in the air is pretty useful. If you just shake the controller without pressing the button down, it will reload your weapon. Otherwise, if you run out of ammo and press the fire button again, it will reload automatically for you. This isn't something you should probably rely on, because you run out of ammo at the most inopportune moments, and it really stinks to be reloading a gun when something is bearing down on you. You can also upgrade your weapon in between stages using gold, which is something you collect as you go through the various levels. As your weapons get stronger, certainly the game gets a little easier. In this specific regard, it's really like the other Resident Evil games. The more you play, the more you upgrade your weapons, and it just makes the game easier maybe, and more fun to play actually. Also, as you're wandering around, you're going to pick up health sprays and green herbs, just like you do in the other Resident Evil games, but you use them a little different here. Use the plus button on the Wiimote to use an herb if you have it. And if you have a first aid sprayed and you die, it just brings you back to life right away. Like I mentioned, it's a rail shooter, so you don't control the screen movement, but the screen is moving all the time in different directions. At first, it's kind of a hassle. You really don't know when the camera's going to move, and it's kind of bouncing up and down a lot. It makes aiming difficult. After doing some research on this, apparently this camera movement was a really planned out design from the programmers. They wanted to offer some realism, I guess. Personally, I don't care for it that much, but you do get used to it. Generally, I walk around this game with the pistol active, because of the unlimited ammunition, and I shoot at everything. Shoot at the background non-stop. Everything that looks like you could shoot it, shoot it. If it's a light, if it's a box. Anything you can destroy, they might drop items or gold, which is something that you want. When you're walking around, shoot stuff. You'll start to find things. The chapters are actually released in chunks, or stages really, that string together a story. As far as stories go, it's standard Resident Evil fare, I think. They're trying to connect into the original materials in a way that's not that offensive. It works fine for what it does, but it's kind of like another one of those Saw type of story scenarios, where you experience a complete story, and then down the road they have like another movie, another story happens, and they have to carefully interweave the new story into the first property, hopefully not messing with it too much. It's like, behind a wall where something was happening, something different is happening. And then behind that wall maybe something else was happening that you never knew about. Something else was different. I guess it's a little like that, or that's how it feels to me. I think it's also noteworthy to point out this isn't just an arcade shooter like House of the Dead. That's actually what I was expecting when I popped this in. I expect just random shooting with a nonsensical story. Here, they have cutscenes, and they actually worked pretty hard to get this woven into the Resident Evil universe. One of the scenarios is playing through basically Resident Evil 2. You're walking through the police station, you're just using a different path than in the original game. It's fun, especially for a fan of that franchise, and I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, especially Resident Evil 2. I beat that original game 24 times on the PlayStation 1. I still have my discs. I was an expert at that game at one point. Love it. This one has plenty of zombies. You got zombie dogs, you got crows, you got roaches at one point, you get the liquor monsters that show up. Tyrant is there for a bit, and there are tons of other mutated creatures that appear from time to time. And some of the bosses are especially interesting. It's also nice seeing a monster that I recognize from one of those earlier games. And when they use them here, I'm all on board. Absolutely. I think this game, overall, it works much better than I thought it would at first. I kind of figured it was just going to be a simple arcade shooter, but this feels much closer to an old-school Resident Evil game than I was really expecting. I was pleasantly surprised. In a way, I was thinking about this, it almost kind of feels closer to a virtual reality experience. I was certainly not expecting that at all. Well, that's all I have today for Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles for the Wii. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and thanks for stopping by to take a look. Hope to catch you on another video.